What is up, guys? Today I'm going to be reviewing a mouse I recently purchased. This is the Delux M800, and then the software says M800DB. I don't know what the DB stands for, but I guess that's probably like the correct name is the M800DB. Um, and I bought this off of Amazon for like $45, and it is we'll get to that in a second. So I'm gonna preface this by kind of giving you like from my like kind of reviewer like context like perspective. So up until this point, the mouse that I've been using for like about a year now is this one right here, the Logitech G203, which many of you are probably gonna be familiar with this mouse if you're like a gamer that's like kind of my type of gamer, which is you have a PC, you kind of have budget peripherals. You don't really have a ton of money to spend on gaming stuff, so you build your first PC and then you're like, hey, I need a mouse. What mouse should I get? And you get this one, the G203, which is really solid. It's a great mouse, great performance. Got a little bit of RGB. Um, Side buttons are great, clicks are great. It's overall really good mouse, but it's got one problem, from my perspective, at least. It's got one problem, and that's this. It's got a wire. I wanted a wireless mouse, so I started looking around. I don't really have a bunch of money. I started getting up into like the $80 price range. I was like, oh wow, that's a lot of money to spend on a mouse. And I was like, oh. And then I finally, I bit the bullet and I bought a really kind of cheap budget mouse from Amazon, and that would be this, the Delux M800, which I bought for about $45. So my review is basically going to be coming from, I used a G203 before. Before that, I used like a cheap Microsoft wireless mouse, so I'm not even going to count that. So that's where I'm coming from when I review this mouse. Now, I know you probably just heard me say like, "Oh wow, my problem is wires," right? Well, this mouse has a wire. You're stupid. Well, that's the magic of it. It's a wireless mouse, just like this. Boom. Um, Detachable wire. Of course, the wire acts as a charging cable, but when you have the mouse plugged in, it works as a wired mouse. So to me, this is fantastic because when I don't want to, when I'm charging the mouse, I can still use it as a wired mouse. That's great. But also, wireless mouse. I hate looking at wires. I can't stand it. So normally when it's not charging, and when my keyboard's also charged, I use them both wirelessly, and it just looks cleaner to me. It gives me a better. I don't know how to describe it. Like it sounds really OCD to say that, but like almost a better peace of mind not having to look at the wires. So having a wireless mouse like this at $45, I think is great. And the only really like comparable mouse is the Logitech G305, which keep in mind when I talk about the G305 here, I haven't owned one. So everything I'm saying is from research online, not personal knowledge. So if you have a G305 and you love it, it's probably great. And you know what? You can feel free to tell me that in the comments. You can say I'm completely wrong about what I'm saying about the G305 because your knowledge is gonna be better than mine. But the G305 is kind of heavy, especially if you put the single A battery in there, unless you mod it and do like the AAA battery mod and stuff like that. It's kind of a heavy mouse. And to further that, it takes batteries. This mouse is 70 grams, which is incredible. It's lightweight, which is lighter than my G203. And at this price point, a lightweight mouse is kind of incredible. So it's lightweight, doesn't take batteries, just charges like that. So you're never gonna have it like die on you and be like, oh crap, I have no batteries in the house or anything like that. You just plug it in, keep using it as a wireless mouse. It's great. Um, Furthermore, I think this kind of puts it what I think puts it over the G305. Aside from the fact that it's way lighter, is it's got RGB. The G305 does not have any RGB at all. Now, keep in mind this RGB, I feel like it could be a little better, but if that pushes up the price, I definitely just leave it the same way it is. Like I wouldn't make the RGB like I wouldn't trade off price for better RGB. Just the RGB right now is a plus. I just think it could be better. And so I'll go through like my RGB modes. So you start off with, of course, just static purple because everything I use is purple and blue. I think it's a really clean color combo, so I have it at purple. And then keep in mind this is customizable in the software. You can change the static color, change the breathing color, stuff like that. Um, and so if I press mouse 3 and then the back button, this puts it on the breathing mode, the kind of breathing color cycle. I could also just do it to a breathing static from the software. And I can also do back 3 again, turns it off, and then back 3 one more time. Ah, I did it twice. Hold on. There we go. this is like the basic color cycle right here. Of like, it's rainbow RGB mode, which that's my only complaint is I wish that it had like a true RGB with, all of the colors going at once. Like my keyboard has one like this. I like this. I like the way it looks, even though I don't use it because I think like full rainbow RGB looks a little messy. I think it's better to keep it to just like one or two colors. I still like the option because I think it looks cool to flex sometimes when you just, have everything running, going all colors everywhere, and it looks, like the stereotypical gamer setup. I think it looks cool, so I would have liked having that option at least. But like overall, that's not a big deal, and most people aren't gonna really care about that, the RGB in the first place. But that's like one complaint I'd have. Now, actual performance, this thing has a PAW 3335 sensor. I'm gonna be full disclosure. I don't know a lot about sensors. I don't know a lot about mice, but I did a little bit of research, and from the research that I found, this mouse is that sensor is actually pretty good. And from my actual use of it, like I play Rainbow Six Siege, I play Valorant, I play Crunker.io, League of Legends. I mean, League of Legends really isn't that like, you don't need to have the best mouse. Like a couple of my friends play with like cheap Microsoft wireless mice, but for the FPS games, this mouse's performance was great. Tracking was great. I didn't have my aim was good. It didn't feel like my mouse ever holding me back. It was amazing. Now, as far as there is one thing I need to mention, like full disclosure, the when I was using it wireless the first time, I had the dongle plugged into the top of my PC, like in the front IO, and it worked fine overall, but I'd get like weird mouse freezes. Like I'd have like where I'd like move the mouse and it just gets stuck, and it would move for a second and then it would move, or it would just like be stuck and then jump, or just straight up like skipping. And I was like wondering, I was like, what's going on here? So it wasn't like impacting my performance really that much because it wasn't happening at like crucial moments when I needed to aim. I was like, oh, aim, move, and it would only happen for like a second or two, but it was still really annoying. So I was like, well, what if I just move the dongle and take it out of my front IO and just move it into the back IO, like directly into the motherboard? I did that, no problems, no mouse sensor problems, anything at all. So I think it was something wrong with my PC or that IO port. And nothing wrong with the mouse, but I still need to talk about that because I need to be as honest as possible. So keep that in mind. You might have a problem like that and just have to move the dongle around, or maybe it's a problem with the mouse and I'm wrong. But from my experience, it was definitely a problem with my PC. So wired performance was great once I moved the dongle. Same thing, just as good as wired. Speaking of wired, another thing that I thought that was really interesting, that as far as this price point, the cable it comes with is extremely light. It's like this really light weave braided cable. This cable is better than the cable that came on my G203. This thing's like, it's just super light. Like when you move the mouse around, you barely feel it. Of course, it's not quite the same as wireless because nothing's quite the same as wireless. It'd probably feel even better if I had a mouse bungee, but I don't have a mouse bungee. I'm literally that budget. I'm like, I don't need a mouse bungee. I'll be fine. The mouse is great. The wire is incredible for like I don't know. They don't need to include a good wire at this price point, I don't think. Especially when its main selling point is it's a wireless mouse. So the fact that they included such a nice wire was just like another bonus for me. So overall, this thing punches way above its price point. Like when you're looking at at a mouse, like a wireless mouse with these types of features, you're usually getting up until like the 80s, even higher. You're looking at stuff like the Logitech G Pro, the Model O wireless, Ponage Ultra Custom, all of which of course I all looked at. But this is like half the price of all of them. This is only $45, and it's great. Speaking of those more expensive mice, the Viper Ultimate is one of them, and a lot of people say it's like a top 3 mouse in the market. This mouse kind of just copied the exact shape of the Viper Ultimate. Like, look at this. If you have a Viper Ultimate, you'll know what I'm talking about, especially like this little thingy right here. I saw someone using a Viper Ultimate, and it literally looked just like this mouse until they moved their hand and the Razer logo was right there instead of this X for the Delux logo. Now, of course, that's entirely cosmetic. I haven't even held a Viper Ultimate. I don't have the money for it. But it looks exactly like one. So if you like the look of it, or if you like the shape of the Viper, let's say you have like a Viper Mini or something like that, this is a really good mouse for you if you want like a budget version of the Viper Ultimate. Now of course maybe the Viper Ultimate's, I mean, of course not maybe, it is. It has great performance. It's like a top 3 mouse on the market right now. But as far as like a budget option or looks like it, or if you one of those people that likes to flex or pretend that you have one or something like that, this is a good option. It's for like the hand shape. If you like the Viper Ultimate or like the whole Viper series from Razer, I'd say this is great. So overall, this thing's incredible. It's got a 1,000 hertz polling rate, um, which is of course adjustable in the software, which you can download right from their website. Super easy. 1,000 hertz polling rate. It's got 16,000 DPI. Of course, no one plays at 16,000 DPI. I play at 1250, or that's what I played on my Logitech. That's another thing that's in the software is you can adjust the DPI. And then of course there's a DPI button right here, and it changes colors depending on which DPI setting you're on. But 1,000 hertz polling rate, up to 16,000 DPI, adjustable RGB, wireless and wired support, a great wire, lightweight mouse. This thing's just amazing for $45. So if you're looking for a budget mouse, I 100% recommend this. If you have a different opinion from mine, if you own one and you've had problems with it, or if you have any questions about it, just ask in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them. And that's it for today. Thank you. Peace.